Rob here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of John Kafka at John_Kafka02. One of my, not favorite, because I keep saying that because everyone can't be my favorite, but the style is just for me. Lots of colors, heavy on the painting side, and pretty much there's like a wide range of the initial shape design is cool, the composition is cool, the coloring is cool, and I do think there's a lot of gradient map involvement in the work to kind of help with the coloring. But yeah, I do recommend this artist. So anyway, for this piece, let's focusing on a specific piece. In this case, we have Lucy from the Cyberpunk anime, Edge Runners, I believe. And it's kind of flipped in this one, but I love how there's so much color in it, and it makes it look very almost, what's the word, magical. Even if it's cyberpunk, it has that kind of magical effect. Even the hair, I do think there's a lot of like adjustment layer involvement in the aftermath of the drawing, the sketching, the flat colors, the shadow work. And I do like how even if it's somewhat contained, it's not exactly that clean. It looks like a painted illustration more than a drawing. And that's what I like about this artist's work. Now here we have Makima, I believe. She's in some kind of district. I love her suit, the accent color being her hair red. And everything else, I do think maybe this was done in grayscale in the beginning, but this is clearly done with a gradient map. And you can save a lot of time with coloring by focusing more on the values, on the grayscale aspect. And then you can just fix the colors, add colors later on. So you can help prioritize or be more efficient by working more on the value, on the grayscale value than working on the colors. You can always work on colors after anyway. So here we have even more colors. It's a bit, what's the color scheme? Rainbow? Not rainbow, but it's very neon. It's a mix of neon and pastel, and nice contrast of the hair. Highlight, shadow, and then highlight again. This part should have been a shadow, right? But it's left as a white thing. So that's interesting. You can be very playful with or is it a band? Who knows? But there's a lot of colors, especially with this explosion here. The reds, the purples, the yellow greens. It's so pretty. But even without all of these colors, the composition, the cropping of this image is already legit. But you can make something simple even more intense if you just get the best, or if you just get the composition, the actual sketch, the expression of the face right enough. It conveys enough information. Just adding the shadows after that, adding more colors after that can make that simple idea even more eye-catching. So for this piece, I think there's about 65k likes. So this guy or this chick has a lot of John, so it's obviously a guy, I think. Lots of subs, lots of followers on Twitter. So here we have a process shot. So this was done on the iPad. Okay, do you have graded maps on the iPad for perhaps Procreate or Clip Studio? I do think there's a Clip Studio Paint app, so there's that. But yeah, even in this unfinished piece, there's not a lot of colors yet. It already looks good. This piece right here, even if it's posted as is, it can still garner a lot of likes and attention. And I like how it's not clean, it's very playful. The line work is somewhat scribbly. There's a slight scribbleness to it. Think of Kim Jung-gi. Shout out to Kim Jung-gi. He did pass away a few weeks ago. So that was sad, but anyway, it's not tight. It's not tight. Now for this piece, we have Makima, I think. Again, it's flipped in this case. I'm not sure why he does that. It's annoying. But it still looks pretty hot. Look at how the hair was done. Is it clean, guys? I mean, the silhouette of the character is there, but hopefully this is Makima. Oh yeah, I think it is the eyes, the hair first of all, and the eyes, the hairstyle and the eyes, the color of the hair and the eyes. Even if she's wearing shades, you can tell those eyes are just hers. A bit of variation, not a lot of variation, sorry, for the actual face and neck. Some underlighting in the neck. I think it should have been a shadow, but maybe it's some kind of underlighting. I love how the hair was done. I mean, guys, come on. It's not super clean. The silhouette is the only thing that's somewhat solid, but within that silhouette, it's a bit chaotic. In the edges, I mean, the shadow and the light part is still clear, but in those edges, the in betweens, it's pretty chaotic. It's not that clean, but it looks cool. In the light part, there is some variation, some slight variation of values, but it's still under one color or scheme. Same thing for the shadow part. If you look at this area right here, even if it's all in shadow, there's a lot of variation there. You can even see some slight greens here and there, some slight blues. But even with the orange, with the red orange color or brown, there's a wide value range. So I think that's what makes the hair look very full in comparison to the face of Makima and the neck. So I think there's a nice contrast between the actual full hair set of hair and the face body of neck of Makima. Even the ears are not that defined compared to the hair. The background is pretty intense too, somewhat cyberpunk-ish. And I do like the wide range of colors being used here. Very, very interesting and cool to look at. And it's hard to see the actual line work. It's heavy on the paint, which I do like. So here we have another piece. I'm not sure who this character is, but the eyes, maybe this is some kind of Chainsaw Man character in the future, who knows, but it's taking too long to load, bruh. Fuck. There you go. Ooh. So all of this is under the green blue, some cyan here, but it's mostly green. The eyes, I think, does remind me of a lot of Chainsaw Man characters, so I'm assuming this is inspired or from that anime or that world. But again, look at the sketch. You can still see that rough sketch in the beginning, but it's super rough. It's not. Can you even consider it line work? Most of this is just painted, I think. And I like how it's not as finished in the bottom, but you have more definition with the hair, especially in this part here where it's in the highlight, and even in this part where it's contrasted with the black background. Pretty cool. The eyes, very minimal facial features. The mouth is pretty much just the two dots and some indication of a line. For the nose, the highlight is making the nose appear, so it's not. Maybe you can see a bit of a hole there, but. And the eyes aren't fully rendered, and I think I know why, because it's under the shadow, or it's in the shadow side. So most of if you expect definition, it's going to be more here, but yeah. The only thing that's kind of defined is the hair. I mean, yes, the eyes are somewhat drawn in, but it's not that detailed, which I do like, but all in all, it looks like a painting, which is, yes, and it's not that clean. It's a mix. It's somewhat defined, like a gouache painting, but it's very impressionistic. Kind of like an oil painting. Like, think of impressionistic oil paintings. Very, very interesting. And it looks very full. Here we have another Makima piece. So this guy has a thing for Makima, which everyone does. Everyone simps for Makima. The eyes are there. Very, very rainbow-ish colors. So I'm assuming this was a lot of graded maps were being used. And other adjustment layers. So yeah, I do recommend starting with the drawing first, handling the shadows and shit, and then once you have enough of a value range, then you can play with the colors. It's hard to work on the colors from the very beginning unless it's super simple. So if you want this kind of variation, simplify things and work more on the value, the grayscale, black and white value range. And then after that, add the colors you want. This is hot. Nice contrast between the greens and the reds, or the blues and the yellows. I think it's more green and more red. So bluish, or it's cooler on the body of Makima and on the left side of the coat, and then warmer on the right side. So there's some kind of light source on the right side. Yeah. So you do see a lot of folds. I don't see a lot of line work. So I'm assuming very rough line work or sketch in the beginning. It's not even a line work. It's more of a lay-in or you're just laying in the shapes, and then most of the work was done with the value range. Again, with the colors, keep it simple, work on it after working on enough of the value range on the shapes. Work on the initial drawing with the shapes and with the values, grayscale values, and then after that you can make it more You can add more colors with the gradient maps or other adjustment layers. And then after that, you can paint over on a new layer and clean things up with your colors. Add highlights, add more shadows, clean some edges, blend things with the mixer brush or whatever. It's pretty hot. So I think this guy just reached 100 to fuck me. 100 followers on Twitter. Congrats, by the way, John Kafka. Another Makima piece. I love the folds here on the knees and even the composition of like the lighting and the shadow of her. Interesting. So the hair is the only thing that's pretty much warm in this photo. And the eyes. The accent color is the hair. Some blues, but it's still within the green-blue range. Even in the shadow part, everything else is kind of green-blue-ish. Oh, I do see a lot of, or some gradient work. Not gradient map. I mean, yes, the color's there, but I'm talking about like the soft gradient here, where it's somewhat like a soft brush is in like overlay mode or something. It has a nice watercolor soft effect. If you've seen any watercolor paintings, they do have that nice wash feel in some parts of the painting, so you can see a bit of that here. It can help soften your folds because you do have a lot of shapes, whether it be in the value or shadow work and within the actual like shape design of the character. So by adding some soft gradients here and there, I think it can help soften your image perhaps. That's my guess. So we'll focus in on these 4 images. Here we have another Makima piece. I love the colors. Again, focus on the graded maps, the coloring after. Focus more on the shape design and the drawing and the value range in the beginning. You can always fix this part right here and adjust the lighting after. So just make sure your composition is good in the beginning. And composition involves the actual cropped frame of the entire image. It's not just the drawing itself or the character pose, it's also about how you frame the actual finished image. Another Makima piece. Oh, I love how, I mean, come on, there is no line work. It's very bold and it's just hot, very confident, and I do like this kind of approach. It's very impressionistic, very sketchy. I love how the eyes were done, the expression. Look at the variation of like colors and shapes, value range. It's hot. Another Makima piece. Now this one doesn't have a lot of. I do like the previous one, the one we just saw. Now this one is still, the shadow work is there, lots of folds. But yeah, the hair is still there. You do have a lot of like for the hair strands and stuff, and even in this kind of pony braided tail. It's suggested, but it works. Oh shit, so I do like this piece and the one before the recent one. Fuck me, bruh. So contrast, orange, yellow, green. So warm plus the cools here are pretty much green and maybe some blues here. But everything else is just warmer. It's more on the warmer side. So you have that nice hair. A lot of like the hair strands are being shown here but painted in. So they're not drawn in with like line work, they're painted in. Suggested. So very impressionistic. The face is almost always, it's not as rendered, not as defined. The silhouette is clear. The facial features are just enough. Most of the work is done with the folds and with the hair. The ear is still simplified. I mean, damn, cyan, he likes cyan. So orange, cyan, and some green blues. It's kind of his go-to colors, but so yeah, I think I'll leave the art review here. Check out John Kafka's profile if you're interested in more impressionistic, gouache-like. If you're not a very good sketcher or drawer or draftsman, check out the work of John Kafka. And yeah, all of the links will be in the description below, and I'll see you in the next art review.